There are certain things in life that end up shaping you in ways you don't really expect. Not always people, not always big life events. Sometimes it can be something small, like a game you randomly find, or a piece of art you stumble across online, or maybe even like a type of music you discover at just the right moment in your life. For me, that thing was Vocaloid. And yeah, if you're not familiar with it, that might sound a little strange, because at its core, Vocaloid is basically just software. It's a program people use to create music using synthesized voices. A lot of people mainly know it because of characters like Hatsune Miku, but for people who spend a lot of time online growing up, Vocaloid became something much bigger than just a piece of music software. It became this massive creative community. People were making songs, animations, art, music videos, and all kinds of creative projects centered around these characters and voices. And without really realizing it at the time, I ended up spending a lot of time in that world. Looking back now, it actually had a pretty big influence on me growing up. So in this video, I want to talk about how I first discovered Vocaloid, why it meant so much to me back then, and why it still means a lot to me today. I first discovered Vocaloid when I was around 13 years old. Back then, I spent a lot of time on YouTube, just scrolling through videos and clicking whatever looked interesting. You know how it goes, one video turns into another, and suddenly you've fallen down some completely random rabbit hole on the internet. At some point during one of those late night YouTube sessions, a video popped up in my recommendations from a small YouTuber called Awesome Perfection 1. In the video, he was playing a rhythm game called Project Diva F for the PlayStation 3. And I don't know what it was exactly, but something about that game just completely captivated me. The music was catchy, the gameplay looked fun, and the characters were really expressive. I had never seen anything quite like it before. And that's also where I first learned about Hatsune Miku and Vocaloid. At the time though, I had this weird feeling about it. Back when I was 13, I kind of thought of it as like a girl game, which looking back on it now is pretty funny. But at the time, I remember feeling a little embarrassed about asking my mom to buy it. But still, I really wanted to try it and the game looked way too fun to ignore. So eventually I asked my mom if I could get the game for the PlayStation, and thankfully she said yes. And once I started playing it, I absolutely played the hell out of that game. Seriously, I spent hours on it. Learning the songs, trying to improve my scores, unlocking things, replaying tracks over and over again. And that was really the moment where I fell down the Vocaloid rabbit hole. Because once I started playing the game, I didn't just stop at the gameplay. I started looking up the songs on YouTube, finding new producers, discovering more music. And a few years later, after I've played the game Project Diva F a lot, I picked up the sequel, Project Diva F 2nd. And eventually, I ended up pretty much playing every Project Diva game that came after that. And honestly, I never really looked back after that. At first, I didn't really understand how big the Vocaloid world actually was. Because for a long time, my entire experience with Vocaloid was basically just the Project Diva games. And honestly, at the time, I didn't think much beyond that. To me, it was just this really fun rhythm game with amazing music. What I didn't realize yet was that every single one of those songs came from a much larger creative community online. What made Vocaloid so special wasn't just the technology itself. It was what that technology allowed people to do. Suddenly anyone could make music. You didn't need a band, you didn't need a record label, you didn't even need a professional studio. If you had an idea for a song, you could bring it to life. And people did exactly that. Producers from all over the world started experimenting in all kinds of ways. Some created emotional ballads, others made fast, energetic electronic tracks, and some made strange experimental songs that didn't really fit neatly into any genre. But what really amazed me was everything that happened around the music. People weren't just listening to these songs. They were building things inspired by them. Fans made animations and music videos. Artists created illustrations of the characters. People covered songs, remixed them, and even turned them into little animated stories. It became this massive creative ecosystem online. But the thing that made it feel especially special back then was that the community still felt kind of niche. Today, Vocaloid characters show up everywhere. You see collaborations with huge games, brands, and franchises. Like, for example, Hatsune Miku shows up in things like Fortnite, Rocket League, and even collaborations with Pokemon. But back then, it didn't really feel like that yet. The community felt much smaller, like it was this little special corner of the internet where a bunch of people who loved the same strange creative thing had somehow found each other. And discovering that world felt kind of magical, because it wasn't just one artist or one style. It was thousands of people contributing their own ideas, their own creativity, and their own interpretations. And the result was something that felt almost endless, like an explosion of creativity that just kept growing and growing. And for someone like me who originally discovered all of this through a rhythm game on the PlayStation, realizing how big the world behind it actually was felt kind of mind-blowing. But at the same time, it felt personal, like I had stumbled into something special. A community that wasn't huge yet, but was full of creativity, passion, and people who genuinely loved what they were making. And looking back now, I think that's part of why it stuck with me so much. But beyond the creativity, the music, and the community, Vocaloid eventually became something much more personal for me. At first it was just songs I enjoyed playing in rhythm games, but the more I spent listening to them, the more I started connecting with them on a deeper level. There were times growing up where I didn't really feel like I fit in anywhere. Family life could be complicated in ways that made growing up stressful, and on top of that, navigating life as a kid with autism brought its own challenges. I often struggled to express myself, to feel understood, or even to find spaces where I felt safe. During those moments, music became an essential escape for me. I could put on a song, sit back, and disappear into it for a while. And somehow, even though the voice singing wasn't technically a real person, the emotions behind the songs still felt incredibly real. Some songs made me laugh, some made me feel excited and energized, and others hit in a way that made me stop and think about things I hadn't yet been able to put into words. Because Vocaloid songs were being created by people all over the world, each with their own stories and emotions, there was always something new to discover. No matter what mood I was in, there was always a song that matched it. And over time, Vocaloid started to feel like a kind of safe space for me. A place I could retreat to when life felt overwhelming, when family or school situations were stressful, or when I just needed a space to breathe. Sometimes it was simply a way to spend hours exploring something that made me feel like I belonged to something bigger than myself. And it also showed me how powerful communities built around creativity can be. Even though I was just sitting alone in my room, listening to songs on the internet, it never really felt like I was alone. For a kid spending hours online trying to figure out life, family relationships, and where they fit in, Vocaloid didn't just feel like music. It felt like a lifeline, a place where I could feel understood, safe, and inspired. Hello everybody, and thank you for watching the full video. This was a little bit of a special video for me and something I wanted to make for a long time, where I wrote a whole script for it and tried recording it and doing it the best way I could. This is definitely a first for me though, so I would appreciate it if you have any feedback for me in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more like this. I definitely want to do more videos related about Vocaloid because, I don't know, it's a topic I'm very passionate about and something I want to talk more about. So if you like it, please like and subscribe and check out my other videos on the channel. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.